Welcome back to Iowa Lore. Today we're talking about the evolution of the tallest building here in Iowa. True, Iowa is not really known for having massive skyscrapers, but that doesn't mean that a couple people still aren't interested, and I just happen to be one of those people, so that's what we're talking about. So let us begin way back in the early 19th century with Fort Madison, built in 1808. Some suggest that this may be the first, ready for this, two-story building in Iowa. Its height was about 20 feet. So yeah, very impressive. Fort Madison was burnt down in 1813. Moving all the way to 1835 with one of the first churches built in Iowa, specifically the original stone building that no longer exists of St. Raphael's Church in Dubuque. While the modern cathedral has this pretty impressive large tower that was built in 1876, the original was just this small stone building. It's probably close to about 30 feet. Lots of churches were constructed during this time, so it's likely that a few of them had some tall steeples, built in the 1830s or 40s. But we are moving in the timeline to 1842 with the original Iowa State Capitol building in Iowa City. It had a staggering height of 114 feet. Not bad. Look at that tower. Very cool. Today, this is part of the University of Iowa. It's no longer the state capitol. They moved that to Des Moines, which will come up in our list later. We gotta have an honorable mention right here for the first four-story building in Iowa, the Mount Ida Female College in Davenport. It was built in 1856. Check out this lovely building. It was approximately 70 feet, but 2 years later in 1858, they built a little tower to go with it, and that got it close to the Iowa State Capitol at 110 feet. However, even in 1858, there was already a new tallest in Iowa building. That is the Shot Tower in Dubuque that was built in 1856. The tower stood at 120 feet and it still stands today. It was used to create shot balls, aka little balls made for guns and stuff. Molten lead was seeped through these little holes and they would fall into a bucket of water at the bottom. So while they fell, they kind of got a round shape and boom. This wood engraving of Dubuque from circa 1870 shows the Shot Tower off in the distance. This may be our first Iowa City skyline. Wow. Moving on to the next tallest in our timeline, the Iowa State Capitol building in Des Moines that was built in 1884. The tallest central dome of the Iowa State Capitol stands at a height of 275 feet. That's double the height of the previous record holder, the Shot Tower. The Capitol building held this record for a pretty long time, for approximately 40 years. But I do want to mention a couple of unique buildings that were built in between. There was the Dubuque County Courthouse that had a height of 208 feet. It's a decent looking courthouse, not bad. We also have to mention the first skyscraper in Iowa, the Fleming Building in Des Moines that was built in 1907. This was one of the first steel-framed buildings in Iowa. It topped out at 174 feet. So, not super tall. I mean, it's tall, but not super tall compared to the Iowa Capitol building, but it did feature 12 floors, and that's pretty impressive. It probably had more floors than any other building at the time. We also must mention the Register and Tribune building built in 1918 at a height of 243 feet. This would have been the tallest building in Des Moines at the time, so it would have made up the Des Moines skyline. That is until 1924, when we take a huge step. We're about to enter a whole new level of tall buildings, and that's with the Equitable Building. It still stands today at a height of 318 feet. There's finally a new building that took the spot of the Iowa State Capitol. And I love this building. I think it looks sweet. I built it in Minecraft once. That white with the brick. The Equitable Building was named after and owned by an insurance company, Equitable of Iowa. Today, it serves as a residential building, lots of apartments and stuff. For 49 years, the Equitable Building was the tallest in the state, and this would be a record for the longest period held, although that record could end here pretty soon, but we'll get to that. This was until 1973 with the construction of a new skyscraper, the Financial Center in 1973. The Financial Center was built at a height of 345 feet, and dang, this design is very early 1970s. It's got that mid-century vibe, very cool, and to be honest, I like it. Also in a similar style, I do want to mention the Alliant Tower in Cedar Rapids. This was built in 1972, and it's pretty tall, it's not bad, at a height of 285 feet. Has that same kind of mid-century 70s style, and it's currently the tallest building in Iowa that's not in Des Moines. But back to the Financial Center. This building would not hold the record for very long, as just a few years later, the Ruan Center was built in 1975, and this had a height of 459 feet. Dang. A large leap for the tallest in Iowa. It's another square office building, what can I say, but you know, it's a must. Every city's got a square office building. The Ruan Center has been given the nickname the Rusty Skyscraper, as the building literally sheds rust. Finally, we have made it to the current tallest building in Iowa, 801 Grand, formerly known as the Principal Building. It was built in 1991 at a height of 630 feet, which is pretty impressive for a state like Iowa. Really, if you look at like state lists of like tallest building, Iowa is higher than a lot of larger states. So that's pretty cool. The top part is covered in copper, and the plan was, you know, they wanted it to look like the Statue of Liberty. So copper over time oxidizes and it has that green look to it. And that's what they wanted to do with the Principal Building here in Iowa. But unfortunately, our atmosphere and our humidity and all the stuff in our atmosphere is different than the atmosphere next to the ocean in New York. So it kind of has like a dark brown color, which is sad, but it's still cool. Well, there you have it. That's the evolution of the tallest building in Iowa. When's the next tallest building? I don't know. It's been over 30 years. We're coming up on that Equitable Building record. So we need to start building some more tall buildings. Not that there's really a demand for it. I think we need like a dope Art Deco building right in the center at like 800 to 1,000 feet. That would be sick. Maybe if this channel gets enough subs, we can have enough money to create a, Iowa lore tower. So be sure to subscribe so we can make that happen. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.